Welcome to a world where shadows hold secrets, and every whisper could unravel a tale of darkness. Tonight, we journey into the unknown, exploring the chilling depths of human nature and the twisted paths of those who walk among us. Are you ready to confront the sinister, the inexplicable, and the unimaginable? Stay with us as we uncover the truth behind some of the most perplexing and haunting crimes ever recorded. Brace yourself, what you discover might keep you up at night. Let the story begin.
Each has reached the same conclusion. Peltier's allegations are without merit, and his conviction and sentence. RESMURS. Reservation murders. On June 26, 1975, FBI agents Jack Collier and Ronald Williams were murdered by Leonard Peltier on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. In 1977, Peltier was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. Since then, he has appealed several times for parole or commutation of his sentence. Over the past 45 years, at least 22 federal judges have evaluated the evidence and considered the legal arguments presented by Peltier, FBI Director Wray said in a letter opposing Peltier's parole request in 2024. Each has reached the same conclusion. Peltier's allegations are without merit, and his conviction and sentence should stand. Pre-incident facts: the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation is located in the southwestern corner of South Dakota. The town of Wounded Knee, South Dakota, is approximately 18 miles from the village of Pine Ridge on the reservation. The incident involving Wounded Knee occurred approximately 2 years before the murders of agents Jack R. Kohler and Ronald A. Williams. There is no concrete connection between the two. However, the Indian factions that emerged from Wounded Knee may have contributed to the atmosphere of tension that existed on the Pine Ridge Reservation. This sectarian rivalry pitted supporters of the local tribal government and its then chief against members of the American Indian Movement, AIM, and traditional Indian conservatives. As a result, crime on the reservation increased. The FBI's assigned jurisdiction on the reservation was the Rapid City, South Dakota, Minneapolis Field Division. The Rapid City, South Dakota, Field Division's 12-agent force added 6 temporary agents to help handle the increased workload. The victim, Jack Kohler, was one of these temporary agents. Neither Leonard Peltier nor any of his party were members of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. The affidavit stated that Peltier and the others in his party had come to the reservation at the request of AIM leaders following an AIM convention in Farmington, New Mexico. There is evidence that Peltier was the leader of a group of Indians who may have committed robberies on the reservation. Norman Charles, a member of Peltier's group, shot the agents on the day of the murders with a British .308 caliber rifle that had been seized in a robbery on the reservation. At the time of the murders, Peltier was the subject of an outstanding federal warrant for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. The unlawful flight to avoid prosecution warrant was issued after Peltier fled Milwaukee to avoid being arrested and prosecuted for the attempted murder of an off-duty police officer in that city. On June 25, 1975, the evening before the murders, agents Ron Williams and Jack Kohler were on the reservation attempting to locate and arrest Jimmy Eagle. There was a federal warrant out for robbery against Eagle, after Eagle and some of his associates beat and robbed a person on the reservation. Additional charges stemming from that incident included assault with a deadly weapon. One of the area's agent Williams attempted to locate Eagle was the Jumping Bull complex, but the agents were unsuccessful in their attempts to locate him. However, during the investigation, the agents spoke with Norman Charles and 2 others in Agent Williams's car and informed Charles that the purpose of their visit was to locate Eagle. It is noted that Norman Charles was with Peltier at the time of the murders the following day. The agents were told that Eagle had just left in a red car. No further details were provided regarding that car. there was no evidence that the agents were aware of Peltier's presence in the area. Facts of the incident: on the morning of June 26, 1975, Agents Kohler and Williams returned to the Pine Ridge Reservation to continue their attempts to locate and arrest Jimmy Eagle. The execution of Eagle's warrant was the purpose of their trip to the reservation. At approximately 11:50 a.m., other agents heard a radio transmission in which Agent Williams informed Agent Kohler that he had spotted a red and white vehicle and was going to stop it. Williams and Kohler were in separate vehicles. Neither of the radio transmissions was recorded, as the FBI did not have a system for doing so. Recollections vary as to the description of the vehicle provided by Williams. However, testimony presented at trial indicated that there was only one serviceable vehicle in the area that fit this general description. It should be noted that this vehicle stop would be consistent with information Williams had received the previous day that Jimmy Eagle was in a red vehicle. As subsequent testimony showed, Leonard Peltier, Norman Charles, and Joe Stuntz were the occupants of the vehicle Williams was concerned about. Kohler then followed Williams in an attempt to stop the suspect vehicle. In the next radio transmission, just seconds later, Williams reported that the car they were pursuing had stopped, and its occupants had exited the vehicle, apparently preparing to fire on the agents. Michael Anderson testified that Leonard Peltier's red and white car entered the area of the murders first, followed shortly thereafter by Williams's and Kohler's FBI vehicles. Peltier's car stopped approximately 250 yards in front of the agents' vehicles. Peltier, Charles, and Stuntz got out and began firing on the agents. The last radio transmission recorded was of Williams giving instructions to other agents on how to reach his and Kohler's location. Williams warned Agent J. Gary Adams that if he did not get there quickly, they would be dead. Williams announced that he and Kohler had been hit, and gunfire could be heard in the background of the transmission. Upon arriving in the area, Agent Adams was unable to re-establish radio contact with Williams. The time frame for the shooting was determined by Williams's first transmission, which was heard at approximately 11:50 a.m. Agent Adams, the first agent to arrive after Williams and Kohler, made the 12-mile trip at 90 miles per hour. The incident involving Williams and Kohler is estimated to have been over in about 10 minutes. When Agent Adams and two Bureau of Indian Affairs police officers arrived in the immediate area, they were shot at. Both Adams and the office's vehicles were hit by gunfire. Agent Adams' vehicle stalled while he was trying to maneuver it, and he was unable to reach Williams and Kohler. When agents and other officers from multiple agencies arrived, they were subjected to sniper fire that continued throughout the afternoon. This hampered rescue efforts, and the agents' bodies were not found until approximately 4:25 p.m. that day. Physical evidence and testimony at the crime scene and an examination of the agents' weapons revealed that one shot was fired from Agent Kohler's pistol, two shots from Agent Williams's pistol, one shot from Agent Kohler's .308 caliber rifle, and one shot from Agent Kohler's rifle. The agents' weapons fired a total of 5 shots during the incident. The agents' vehicles contained 125 bullet holes. This total does not include shots that struck agents' windows or missed their target. Testimony indicated that other individuals from a tent camp near the Jumping Bull complex arrived after hearing the gunfire and began shooting at the agents. According to eyewitnesses, at least 7 individuals are believed to have shot Williams and Kohler. Physical evidence indicates that at least 3.223 caliber bullets were fired at close range at the agents. However, only 1.223 caliber bullet casing was recovered from Agent Kohler's open trunk. This suggests that the individuals present attempted to remove all of the bullet casings from the murder scenes and inadvertently discarded the .223 caliber bullet casing in Agent Kohler's trunk. Testimony established that Peltier was the only person carrying an AR-15 rifle at the time of the murders. The AR-15 was the only weapon present capable of firing a .223 caliber bullet. 114.223 caliber bullet casings were recovered in the general crime scene area, away from the agents' bodies. All of them were fired from the same AR-15 rifle. These 114 casings matched the single bullet casing found in Agent Kohler's trunk. Pathology reports revealed that Agent Kohler had been shot in the arm, which was nearly severed. The coroner was of the opinion that Agent Kohler was disabled upon receiving this wound and would not have been able to continue fighting. Physical evidence showed that Agent Kohler received this wound while standing in the open trunk of his car, retrieving his long rifles. Agent Williams's shirt was wrapped around Agent Kohler's arm as a tourniquet. The shirt had bullet holes that coincided with the wounds Agent Williams had sustained to his left arm and side. Agent Williams was also shot in the foot. None of Agent Williams's wounds to this point were fatal, and his right arm was still functional. The forensic reports also showed that there were 3 additional wounds inflicted by the agents at close range. An eyewitness testified that Pelletier, Robert Eugene Robideau, and Darrell Dean Butler walked to the agents' vehicles. Robideau and Butler had come from the tent camp to join in the shooting after it had begun. There is no eyewitness testimony as to what happened in the agents' vehicles. However, physical evidence showed that Agent Williams had sustained a defensive wound to his right hand. The same bullet then entered his head, killing him instantly. Agent Kohler was lying on the ground, unconscious or semi-conscious, when he was shot once in the top of the head, but the wound was not fatal. Agent Kohler was then shot a second time near the jaw. This wound was fatal. At the murder scene, very little was stolen from Agent Kohler's car. Agent Williams's car was driven to the red and white suburb of Pelletier, then to the tent camp area where it was stripped of almost everything. Both agents' pistols and Agent Kohler's long guns were stolen from the scene. Testimony described Butler as carrying one of the agent's pistols and Pelletier the other. Robideau was carrying both of Agent Kohler's long guns. Robideau's fingerprint was found on the inside door handle of Williams's car. After the murders, the perpetrators split up and fled in different directions. On September 5, 1975, Agent Williams's pistol and the bullets from both agents' pistols were found in a car near the residence where Darrell Butler was arrested. On September 10, 1975, a station wagon exploded on a Kansas highway near Wichita and a burned AR-15 rifle was found, along with Agent Kohler's .308 caliber rifle. The vehicle was loaded with weapons and explosives that apparently ignited when they came too close to a hole in the exhaust pipe. Present in the vehicle were, among others, Peltier's associates Robert Robideau, Norman Charles, and Michael Anderson, all of whom were connected to the shootings of the agents. On September 9, 1975, Leonard Peltier purchased a Plymouth station wagon in Denver, Colorado. Peltier began traveling in a recreational vehicle, RV, accompanied by some of his associates in the recently purchased Plymouth. The FBI provided descriptions of the 2 vehicles to other law enforcement agencies. An Oregon State police officer stopped the RV based on the description. Peltier exited the RV, shot the officer, and fled. Agent Kohler's gun was found in a bag with Peltier's fingerprints on it, under the front seat of the RV. Both vehicles were loaded with weapons and explosives, like the vehicle that exploded in Kansas. The serial numbers on some of the weapons had been erased. Peltier then fled to Hinton, Alberta, Canada, where he hid on an Indian reservation until he was captured by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Peltier was heavily armed at the time of his arrest, and stated that he would have blown up the RCMP if he had known they were coming to arrest him. When asked if he knew why the police were chasing him, Peltier stated that 2 FBI agents had been shot at when they arrived at a home to serve a warrant on him. He identified the warrant as an attempted murder charge in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Cedar Rapids trial. The first trial of the suspects in this case was held in the summer of 1976 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, after a motion for change of venue was granted. Peltier was in custody in Canada, fighting extradition to the United States, and was therefore unavailable for this trial. As a result, only Robideau and Butler were tried. The government voluntarily dropped charges against Jimmy Eagle, the only other person charged with killing the agents, for lack of evidence. There were several issues and factors in this trial that differed significantly from Peltier's later trial. Robideau and Butler were not present when the shooting began. They were at a camp a short distance away and came to the murder scene with rifles as soon as they heard the shots. Unlike Peltier, there was no direct evidence that they knew the agents were law enforcement officers. As a result, the defense argued a self-defense argument. The key difference in the Cedar Rapids trial was that the government's two best witnesses, Angie Long Visitor and Michael Anderson, were not present. Despite the government's best efforts, neither could be found. However, Long Visitor and Anderson were available and testified at the Peltier trial. At the Cedar Rapids trial, the government was barred from introducing evidence of the presence of shell casings fired from Agent Kohler's gun and shell casings fired from Agent Williams's gun in or near the home where Butler was arrested. At the Peltier trial, the same evidence was allowed. At the Robidoux-Butler trial, the jury heard testimony regarding prior FBI activities that arguably had nothing to do with the events on the reservation. The testimony was presented based on the defense's theory that the FBI, through such prior activities, helped create a climate of fear on the reservation that precipitated the murders. At the conclusion of the trial, the jury foreman stated that an important aspect of the acquittals was the atmosphere of fear and violence that had prevailed, and how this atmosphere contributed to the self-defense theory of defendants Robidoux and Butler. In contrast, in the Peltier trial, the trial judge required that any evidence presented to the jury be relevant to Peltier's guilt or innocence. As a result, the jury was not presented with much FBI-related information that was unrelated to the events on the reservation. At the conclusion of the government's case against Robidoux and Butler, the judge adjourned the trial for 10 days to attend a judicial conference. This allowed the defense more time to prepare their case and a longer period from the presentation of the government's case to the time the jury deliberated. In addition, the jury was not sequestered and no gag order was imposed on the defense. As a result, the jury was exposed to numerous headlines in the local newspaper that were unfavorable to the FBI. In contrast, federal prosecutors were governed by Justice Department guidelines prohibiting discussion of the facts of any pending case with the media. The end result was that the public, which in this case included the trial jury, was subject only to the defense's version of the facts in the media. The trial of Leonard Peltier in Fargo. To address the problems that affected the Cedar Rapids trial, the government requested and obtained a sequestered jury, a gag order on attorneys, and a pretrial ruling that the FBI could prosecute him only if the information provided related to evidence or witnesses in the case. The defendant, Peltier, was indicted not only for the murders, but also on the grounds that he may have been an aid and abettor in the murders. Since the trial, Peltier has admitted, on the television program 60 Minutes on September 22, 1991, that he shot the agents. On April 18, 1977, after a 5-week jury trial, Leonard Peltier was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder. After his imprisonment, Peltier participated in an armed escape from the federal prison in Lompoc, California. Another inmate was shot and killed during the escape. Peltier was recaptured shortly after a rancher reported to the sheriff's office that a man had confronted him with a shotgun and taken his shoes and truck. Peltier was convicted of escape and being a felon in possession of a firearm. The conviction was affirmed on appeal. On November 17, 1975, Leonard Peltier, along with Darrell Dean, Dino, Butler, Robert Eugene Robidoux, and James, Jimmy, Eagle, were indicted in a federal indictment on 2 counts of first-degree murder and aiding and abetting. During the summer of 1976, for reasons discussed above, Butler and Robidoux were acquitted at trial in U.S. District Court in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The government voluntarily dropped the charges against Jimmy Eagle. Peltier was in custody and the government voluntarily dropped the charges against Jimmy Eagle. Peltier was in custody in Canada, fighting extradition. Peltier was eventually extradited to the United States. After a 5-week jury trial in U.S. District Court in Fargo, North Dakota, he was convicted on April 18, 1977, of 2 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced on June 1, 1977, to serve 2 consecutive terms of life in prison. Peltier appealed his conviction to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, which was upheld in 1978. In 1979, the United States Supreme Court denied the request for a writ of manslaughter. After this initial appeal, Peltier managed to escape armed from prison, and was arrested, tried, and convicted in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California. Peltier appealed the conviction, but the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld it in 1982. In April 1982, Peltier filed his first petition for a writ of habeas corpus. The petition was denied in December of that year. Also in December, Peltier filed his first petition for the recusal of U.S. District Judge Benson. This petition was denied. Shortly after, Peltier appealed both the writ of habeas corpus and Judge Benson's recusal, and filed a motion for the recusal of the entire Eighth Court of Appeals. In 1984, the appeals court's motion to dismiss was denied, and the court also upheld the U.S. District Court's ruling that denied Peltier a new trial and denied Judge Benson's disqualification. However, the appeals court sent the case back to the U.S. District Court for a hearing to establish the meaning of an FBI telephone message regarding the results of the firearms examination. In June 1984, Peltier filed his next motion to dismiss Judge Benson. The district court denied the motion, and Peltier sought review by the appeals court, which affirmed the denial of the motion. In 1985, the U.S. District Court denied Peltier a new trial as a result of the hearing into the evidence related to the FBI's firearms telegraph device. Peltier appealed to the appeals court, and the district court's order denying a new trial was affirmed. In 1987, the U.S. Supreme Court again denied the motion for a writ of mandamus.
Thank you for tuning in to our channel, where we delve into the darkest corners of human nature and unravel the mysteries behind the most notorious crimes. We hope our stories have captivated your interest. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. Stay vigilant, and remember, the truth is often stranger than fiction. Until next time.